It's May 13th, 2021. This is Roqe. He is the Iranian-American who turned a childhood love of drawing into the heights of global movie making. Mehrdad Isvandi is still in his 30s, but has such a talent for creation that he's already done stints at Google and DreamWorks and has now become the production designer for Disney Animation. From Moana to Raya and the Last Dragon to Ralph Breaks the Internet, the characters you've fallen in love with have often been conceived and created by Mehrdad, and he's had no shortage of personal challenges to get where he's gotten. From Ahvaz to Disney, Mehrdad Isvandi coming up, plus a new edition of It's All Persian to Us with Kian. This is stories from, to, and about the Iranian diaspora. I'm Jian. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode 110 of Roqe. Sadodah. Kian John.
Bale, merci.
Hope you're keeping well wherever you are tuning in from around the world. I help Kian with her numbers in Farsi. Salam Dustan Aziz. Coming up in just a little bit, Shaya. Shaya, you're coming up as well. But coming up in just a little bit, Mehrdad Isvandi. So the kid from Ahvaz, shout out to Ahvaz. I have some family from, and still in Ahvaz. He has made more of an impact on your life than you might know. Shaya.
Yeah, I might know.
You do know, because you know who he is. But if you don't recognize his name out there, stick around. He's just like, how do I work with these people? Kian,
I don't know what to tell you, Jian.
He's a visual artist and designer who's ascended to become a production designer at Disney. He is partly responsible for these characters that are known around the world, like images that you see in Disney animation movies of late in the last few years. And he's a young guy himself, killing it. Mehrdad joins us from Los Angeles in just a few minutes. Looking forward to that, Kian.
Is it right that he's responsible for Moana?
Yes.
The character? That's so cool. He's literally living the childhood dream.
Whose childhood dream?
Well, everybody's childhood dream.
Is that everyone's childhood dream?
I don't know. I grew up watching Disney, so that to me is
to draw those characters.
I'm very. That's
and
so
to
cool.
preside over it. He's the production designer now. It's pretty much. We'll talk about this in the interview, but I think, like after director, production designer is pretty much the most major role you can have
when it comes to animation. Yeah, definitely.
ببین ایرانی‌ها چه کاری کردن. حالا تو چه کار داری؟
هیچ کاری Jian, هیچ کاری.
We are on an ongoing mission to build a new audio visual. It's the same joke every show. To build a new audio visual encyclopedia, Kian, of Iranian diaspora identity. Yes. Coming to you on Spotify and SoundCloud, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, CastBox, and Telegram. If you'd like to see some visuals with your Roqe, if you're a fan of Disney animation, you like visuals,
I do.
Well, then switch over to YouTube right now, where you can watch the visual version of our show. And if you like your Roqe descriptions and bulletins in both English and Persian, you can subscribe on Telegram. Hello, the fabulous Kian.
Hi, Jian.
Hello, Groovy Shaya. Formally, let me say hello. And hello, Captain Reza.
Hello, sir.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Good. Excellent.
Feeling great.
I'm also feeling good.
That's great. Today's the episode is Sadodah.
Yes.
And you know what Sadodah is in Iran?
110?
Yeah, but it's 911. When you want to call 911.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's the number?
Yeah,
Yes.
but only for police, right? So if you want like ambulance, if you call Sadoda, they'd be like, nah, call a different number.
Oh,
I don't know what that is. But it's
Sadoda sang bizan.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that what they say? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I use that during the show when I'm like want to bail out of an episode with guys?
Sadoda,
Guys, this is a real Sadoda.
yeah.
Let's get out. Let's get out. This It's All Persian to Us is not working. Sadoda, Sadoda.
How dare you?
I told you I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Why?
I am feeling well.
Oh, right. You
feeling
got
well.
your
I'm
vaccine.
waiting. When no
You
one,
got your
no one's
Okay.
asking me.
I meant to
This is
ask-
what I'm surrounded by.
I meant to ask you
Nobody
about this
cares.
because you got the AstraZeneca shot, did
That's
you
right.
not? And suddenly the next day,
A
they
disaster.
announced- they
A
announced
disaster.
that they
Falling
were
apart.
stopping it.
Yeah, first of all, and I was joking about how I got the shit one, right? And then half of Canadian provinces bailed on the vaccine that I got.
Well, they quite
The
literally.
day after I got it, they were like,
shut it
"We're
down."
banning this because it's dangerous." Now, I joke. It is still. I'm still happy with the decision, and I think if you're out there and you got the AstraZeneca, I think it's important that we get the vaccine.
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny. The other thing is that I was like determined to not let the side effects get to me. So I came to work the next day. I mean, we're busy. I got stuff to do. So I come to the studio. I mean, Shia saw me and I'm slowly starting to it was hitting me hard, And then the problem for me wasn't the side of I went through a couple of days of headaches and chills and all of these things.
extra
It was the alarmist people around me, most of whom are Iranians. That was the problem because first of all, there's a guy who works down the hall down here. He must be in some important, business because he's working during the lockdown and all that. But and a nice guy. But I saw him in the hallway, and we're in with our masks on. And he goes, "Oh, did you get the vaccine?" I say, "Oh, I just got the vaccine." He's like, "Great." And I said, "Did you get the vaccine?" He said, "Yes, I got Pfizer." Right?
San Irani Baba
Yeah, I got Pfizer. And then I go, and he says, "Which one you got?" And I said, "Well, I got the AstraZeneca." And he literally, the guy goes, "Oh,
You're so
second
class citizen.
And then, it makes me question my own decision, right? And then later, like that night, I'm talking to a friend of mine. They say, "How you feeling?" And I go, "Well, I'm feeling I got a headache and I've got some chills." Nakuna blood clot bashe, right? It must be the blood clots. And so then I start thinking about the blood clots,
no.
right? And at first it's it's sort of funny, and then I'm freaking out all night. Maybe I have the blood clots. Here's the thing. I have more of a chance. I already have asthma. I have more of a, forget drowning in your bathtub, which there's a better chance of than the blood clots. I have all kinds of things that could happen to me, right? I could, die of an asthma attack or something like that. The blood clot thing, even now that in the Canadian provinces they banned it, they say it's 1 in 55,000, right? But I was obsessing about the blood clots. I couldn't stop because not going to blood clot push. And then I'm convincing the person, no, I think I'm fine.
You should do what my cousin does. He keeps telling people he's got the Pfizer, and he hasn't. He's got the AstraZeneca, but it's like, no, it doesn't look good, I know.
It's such an Iranian thing, right? It's like driving the BMW. It's like, I got Pfizer. What did you get? I got Astra. Like the guy completely, he's judged my whole life, and somehow I couldn't hook myself up with the Pfizer. Our prime minister got an AstraZeneca. Then the mayor of Toronto got AstraZeneca. Nonetheless, the Iranians are freaking me out about the blood clots now,
But do you feel okay, Jian? I'm taking my distance now.
I keep checking, and I don't want to minimize. I mean, God forbid. I know there's some people who have had these blood clot issues, and I feel terrible about that. But there's risks with everything.
Yeah. Right.
And by the way, the risks of blood clots are a lot greater if you get COVID-19, right? So better. Why you look at me like that?
No, I'm
You're looking at me like she sees another one.
still judging you.
She's the guy in the hallway. I got Pfizer.
When you told me,
Which one you got?
listen, when you told me you were getting AstraZeneca, I in my head I was like, Khoda, please keep him safe. I was praying for you. Really, I didn't want to tell you to freak you out.
You can take the kid out of the UK. but you can't take the UK. I'm with my British peeps. We all got the Astra. We'll live and die by it. All right.
Your hair is gonna fall off.
Anyway, thank you for asking how I am, which you didn't ask, but yeah. You know, this is it's so you know.
I was almost going to send you.
And actually, it was like, and then I was on the morning walk with Oogie, and it was like a white friend of mine was like, "Oh, you know, there's reasons why the Astra is actually better than the, you know, there was no status with the, you know, with the but the Iranians are." What did you get? I got Pfizer.
What about you?
What about you? Oh.
I got Moderna. Okay, not too bad. But that AstraZeneca shit, don't get that one.
But I'm glad to see you're doing okay.
So far. You never know. Can creep up on you, this based on... It's the whole thing is kind of, it is freaky, right?
Yeah,
Who knows what we're putting in our bodies? We have to defer to the scientists, the doctors. They know what there's, you know, so we go in, and I think everybody should get the vaccine, and I encourage people to get the Astra still, right? But yeah, it was like literally the next you know, it was so funny because I came back from, I saw the guy in the hallway, and you know, I got Pfizer, what do you get? And Astra, oh, you know. And then I come back into my office and I turn on my computer and it's the headline from the Globe and Mail: AstraZeneca banned by Ontario. You know? Bail, if you have an AstraZeneca, be worried. AstraZeneca, whatever you call it. Yeah. Hey, if you like what you're hearing on this program, you want to be a patron of our show, we would love you to be. If you're a regular listener, we crowdfund what we do. So you go to our website, roqemedia.com. You press support us for $5, $10 a month. You can be a patron. And we always check who joins us. Our list of patrons is growing, and we really appreciate that. It's the way we can stay alive. So if you appreciate what we're doing in terms of building this encyclopedia, roqemedia.com. And by the way, whatever platform you're listening to us on, you can become a subscriber. Because a lot of people listen to us and don't necessarily subscribe. It does help us if you subscribe, because then we can keep in touch, you know, with the new episodes, and that is free. That's right. That's right. You know, speaking of the way Iranians are you in these WhatsApp groups?
Too many.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think, when did that happen? I guess because during the quarantine we started getting into WhatsApp groups, right?
Yeah, I'm not a texter, and people started creating all these groups. Just too much. Like, you know, it was a way for a lot of people to stay in touch in these WhatsApp groups, but I'm not into it.
Well, the problem is, here's the problem with and you guys are in WhatsApp groups, right?
Yeah.
Which WhatsApp group?
Well, exactly. Lots of WhatsApp groups. You know, your friends, people create these WhatsApp groups. And with me, I mean, you know those people that you sort of know, but you don't really know them that well, but they have your phone number, and then they add you to a group, right?
Oh, no.
So now that happened to me, you know, over the last year, I guess, but partly a bunch of people added me to these WhatsApp groups. And the problem with the WhatsApp group is, how do you get out?
Yeah, apparently it's rude. I heard it, like I learned it the hard way, because one of my cousins like added me to a WhatsApp group that they had, and then I left, and then they were like, another one messaged me, was like, left daddy,
exactly.
What is it, left daddy?
I put them on silence.
No, well, even if you put it on silence, so that's exactly what happened to me. There's all these Iranian. Like I'm part of these WhatsApp groups that are like political, you know. It's a constant stream of, and a couple of them are not even related to anything that they started about. Now it's just like nonsense, you know, propaganda, whatever. And so I've been agonizing, like, how do I get myself out of some of these, right? And so it's so funny, because last night I built up the courage. I was like, in the middle of worrying about blood clots, you know, I was like, okay, I gotta, because it just kept coming, and then it was like ads for things, and you know, I mean, people are just throwing stuff in there, and so I pressed, you know, exit group, you know, and I exhaled, and it was like, you know, and then nothing happened, you know, so it's. And then like 5 minutes later, like not even 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, guy texts me, did you leave the group?
People take it personally.
And then I have to say, and then I was like, what? No, what? Oh, my phone, you know.
It's doing
because the thing is that the group is like, in the messages of the group is like somebody just died in Serbia or something. So it seems like you're leaving the group and you don't care about the person who died, right? God. So then I had to be, oh no, my phone acts weird.
So you had to join again?
Yeah, of course I rejoined. I'm stuck in the groups.
And now you gotta engage to show that you actually care.
Dude, just put them on mute and let it fade out in a year or two or 10.
I'll be honest, I've got a bunch of them on mute, but they still come up in your feed, right? Yeah. It's like a constant feed of like, this is a bomb went off, this happened, that happened. If I'm in these groups, and sometimes I just don't, I don't want it on my phone. I don't want to push it onto my phone. But if I leave, it seems like it's an editorial decision. Oh, like I disagree. I disagree with you disagreeing with that bombing, so I'm going to exit the group.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's great.
What a disaster.
Listen, you have bigger things to worry about. You got AstraZeneca, Jian. What was it?
Which one you got? I got Pfizer. Which one you have?
How do you call the police in Iran?
In Iran, Sadoda.
Sadoda.
I need a Sadoda. I need a Sadoda situation with this whole thing, yeah. Hey, what do we have for it's a new edition. What's happened to It's All Persian to us? You took off a couple of weeks or something?
I took 1 week off.
I miss it. I want to know.
I needed to.
Did we run out of things we discovered?
Of course not. Listen, like it is what the title says. It's all Persian to us. So it could be anything from history, from inventions, from people in history. But today's episode is on the most popular board game in the world.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Monopoly.
Yeah. No.
Shatranj.
Yeah,
chess. But I don't think it's called a board game.
It is a board game.
Chess is a board game?
Chess is a board. It's on a board.
Well, yeah, but board games seem so superficial.
I know, but a game of strategy, I don't know, but it is a board game, But yes, it's the most popular game or board game, whatever you want to call it in the world.
I love that. I love that we invented that. I'm so proud of that.
So I'm going to get into it. The first predecessor came from India, but it was actually Persia that developed into what it is today.
Head to head with it.
Who owns Rumi? Who owns Rumi?
That's it.
Well, I'll look forward to that, Keelan. It's All Persian to us. We got that coming up. And the fabulous Keon will be leading that discussion about Shatranj. Right. The Captain Reza will be there, as will the Groovy Shaya. But let's get to our impressive feature guest. My feature guest today, despite being relatively young, is an accomplished Iranian illustrator and art director who works at Walt Disney Animation Studios in California. Mehrdad Isvandi was born in Ahvaz in 1985. Since childhood, he's had a strong interest in visual arts and drawing. He entered university in Tehran to major in graphics, but before too long, he felt his potential could flourish as a designer, so he decided to pursue work in the animation industry, where he began to develop a signature style of his own. Mehrdad was itching to leave Iran for more fertile and lucrative places as an animator, and after many attempts, he finally moved to San Francisco in 2013, where he studied visual development and has been working on various projects since. He was hired by EA Games, VR and AR, plus working at Google before landing this dream job in feature animation at Disney and DreamWorks in LA. He has been instrumental in creating movies such as Moana, Over the Moon, Raya and the Last Dragon, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Encanto, which is currently filming. He has, in short, climbed to the top of the animation world, which is not bad for a kid from Ahvaz who had to overcome some personal battles and impediments to get there. Mehrdad is currently working as a production designer on a 2022 Disney feature film. But first, right now, Mehrdad Isvandi joins me from Los Angeles today. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you doing? Thanks for the introduction. It was pretty awesome.
That's great. I'm glad you thought it was awesome. It's your life story so far, and it's an impressive one. Mehrdad, from the outside, it would seem like for an animator to get a major gig at Disney and DreamWorks would be the pinnacle of achievement. Does it feel that way for you?
Yeah, definitely. From now it's a COVID time, but every day I go to Disney and I entering in front of that building, the iconic hat building. I have this awe feeling that, oh my God, it kind of worked out.
It did work out. And you were telling me earlier that you'd grown up watching a taped copy of Jurassic Park in Iran in awe, only to find out that a couple of decades later you're working on the Jurassic Park franchise in Los Angeles. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, that was pretty awesome, because taking into account that having VHF and VHS video at home back then was kind of illegal in Iran. So we were watching these amazing movies, and I never thought that someday I would work on this kind of movies. But I always dreamed about that. I was working at Google, and when I got a call from DreamWorks that they wanted to start another show for Jurassic Park and they want me to join them, that was like, oh my God, this is dream come true. This is awesome.
Dude, I mean, you're clearly very good at what you do, because I like the way your resume so far since you landed in the U.S. is EA Games, Google, and Disney. You know, most folks in the creative class are working at some startup trying to make things happen for themselves. So you've done very well for yourself, and I'm sure that's based on your talent. What would you say? I mean, normally when it isn't COVID time, what would you say a working day is like at Disney?
It's pretty chill. It's very well managed with amazing management team at Disney. What I really like about that, which I wouldn't get it when I was back in Iran, they care about the feelings of the artists. So what do you feel today? How do you feel? In the beginning of most of the meeting, my manager asked, how do you feel? How do you feel today? Is it good? Is it going well? If there is something crazy going on in the world, they always take care of the time that we have. They always ask, do you want to take a break? I know this is happening. This bad news is coming this week or next week or previous week, or I don't know.
Wow.
Do you feel okay? Do you want to take a time, take a break, take a vacation?
Like so what? Like what kind of bad news? What would they say that about?
When there was that accident with the airplane.
Yeah, Flight 752. Yeah.
Yeah, they shut down the airplane in Iran. And I was telling my manager that happened. This is so crazy. I'm dealing with all this news and having lots of things in my mind, and I still have to be creative that day. And they were so understanding. Like, if you want to take a time, it's okay. But we always give back, you know, when something like that happens.
That's really actually very heartening to hear, because I guess I'm sort of cynical about big corporations, but I would worry that you just become a number there, or you don't really stand out, and you're kind of just told what to do. Does it feel like creative work, despite the fact that you're in this big place, or at Disney do they kind of say, draw this, work like this, so you become the equivalent of a draftsman, as they used to call it?
The good thing, I think they do it at Disney, but I talk about Disney Animation Studios, which is one part of Disney. Disney is like being, I think, managed like different businesses. Like, yes, the Marvel and Star Wars and like ILM and Pixar and ESPN and ABC. It's all part of Disney,
right.
But they are managed like separately. And like what's going on in our building, the Disney Animation Studios, which is that main part that we're making feature films. So it's we kind of separated, and the CEO and the creative executives, they well know every single person by name. I think they are doing a great job on that.
Do you go in and do you get to draw every day? What is your what is the first thing you do when you get to work at Disney Animation? I mean, are you sitting in front of a computer screen or a blank canvas and you get to just start drawing? I'm very curious how this works.
Yeah, when I was doing more of a visual development and like developing stories and concept for directors and writers, it's most of the day is like you get to the studio, you pour yourself a coffee or get a fruit or something, and then you start the day by going through the script. I put the notes for myself. Okay, this is important part of this story, and I start drawing. But now I'm doing a production design, which is leading a huge team.
Yes.
I talk most of the time, so I go to meetings like 6 hours a day, like 10 meetings, something like that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe when I saw that you're a production designer. I mean, that's about as significant a role as you can have on a film, other than, I guess, director, right?
Yeah, basically every decision for the visual of the movie should be overseen by a production designer in like a typical like Hollywood movie. Not that I'm saying that it's like a dictatorship and they dictate and they do that, but it's like an organic way, and like everybody respects each other part. And if it's like a music or something, I don't enter that. I gave my note or my idea, but because one thing about that, because when I see myself, I'm so young, I'm from Iran, I'm coming to this country, learning everything, because it's learning is every day, every second. And these people, this is they're doing it for like 100 years there. So they know everything. So
how do you feel about being a boss?
I don't feel it's sometimes it's uncomfortable because most of it is for English barriers. Like I want to convey a meaning, what I mean, and probably like native English speaker would tell it in like 5 seconds. I would tell it in 3 minutes, and I always feel, oh, I'm taking these people's time.
I mean, you seem so sweet to be running this. This is a big business, right? Do you feel pressure? Is there sort of this subtext to everything that hey, this is a big budget film. We need to. Ralph Breaks the Internet and made $1 billion. We need to do that again. I mean, do those kind of conversations happen?
It does happen, and it has. They try to not to put the like a direct blame on if the movie does good or doesn't do good. They try to keep it subtle and it doesn't point to us. But I do really have this feeling that, oh my God, this is basically it's a business that you have a $200 million product, and I'm one of the person I have to make sure it's going good.
Yeah. Can you tell, like, in your bones, in your guts, the way a musician would know a hit song? Can you tell, like, did you know that Moana was going to be a hit movie?
I knew it's going to be a big movie, but it was kind of exceed the expectation that I had, and especially for the streaming, like for many months, it was like number one streaming at Netflix as well after the movie was out, and did awesome. And it came to D Plus, and it was like number one streaming on Disney Plus for like many months again. Wow. So it was a huge hit.
You must get a kick out of that, knowing that people around the world are watching your art. It's very cool. Mehrdad, I understand there's a great deal of research involved when you are animating characters. I think about Moana, actually, or places that represent different cultures and peoples, especially in this day and age. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, exactly. So I was reading like lots of articles and in the University of New Zealand and Australia about Maori culture. Do we do that culture, or we keep it about the mostly Samoa, or which part of these islands we are telling the story, and we are taking the reference from which island more. And every single bits of it was going through lots of consultants from the cultural consultant that we have, and the universities, and the speakers that coming to Disney and speak for the history of that. Right. And I remember for like little example of that, there in the movie there is a shot that Maui gives some seeds and treats to the rooster, hey, and I was researching that too.
This is the movie Moana, right?
Yeah.
I
was researching even about the seeds and the plants that maybe in their area like 2,000 years ago, to that accuracy, yeah.
I mean, I guess we get it, right? The sensitivity as Iranians when we watch something like The Prince of Persia, and we kind of go, no, that's Arabia or something, you know. That we understand that we wouldn't want, you know, if especially with big films like this, if you're going to represent a culture or a people's or a place in the world, you have to get the structures right. You have to get the way the streets look right. You have to get everything right besides the characters as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything. If there is a tattoo on the body, or if there is a plant in that region, we try to get it as accurate as possible.
Let's come back to what you're working on right now and talk a bit about your story, because I mentioned challenges you faced when you were a kid growing up in Ahvaz, and I actually think your story is a very beautiful one. You were born during the Iran-Iraq War in a difficult time for all Iranians post-revolution, but also it soon became clear as a child that you had some difficulties with reading and writing, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that this difficulty would have a name until like a couple of years ago, that they call it like dyslexia. So I was having a difficult time with spelling the words, and even when I write the words, I was like, sometimes it's like the words are running away from my paper, you know. But I was so ashamed of that, and like I can't keep up. So at some point I was thinking, okay, if I can draw as faster than I'm writing, if somebody asking me something, I can draw it for them, and that will be even more funny, and it's I can make some more friends as well.
I love that. I love that. I love that you figured out your way of your communication tool, and that was through drawing. Just to ask you about it, so I mean, I'm guessing at that point in the 80s and early 90s in Ahvaz, in Iran, dyslexia was not widely discussed or diagnosed. They just thought you were not good at reading or writing.
Yeah, even when I was doing assignments and which is MASH, I was doing that. Most of the time I was asking my mom, my sister, my brother, can you write this for me? Like they were helping a lot. And yeah, and I wanted to talk about it like openly, because it's I don't know how they call it. It's something that happens to lots of kids.
Yeah,
and it's not being lazy. It has a name. It's dyslexia. They like that. So, but most of the time, I was getting lucky because my family was always understanding and supporting me very, very, very well. But if there is a kid that doesn't have that support, they easily call him, oh, he's lazy. He doesn't understand.
Or stupid. Worse than lazy.
Yeah, stupid. Yeah. He's stupid. He can't read, so let him work. And they take him out of his schools most of the time.
Do we know what the Persian word is for dyslexia? Is there one?
I don't know.
Maybe it's dyslexia.
I think it's dyslexia. No, in a Persian accent, dyslexia.
Dyslexia. So do you remember when you first realized that you had this knack, this facility for drawing, and what was it that you were drawing?
When I was like in like third grade, around the age of like 9, 10, I was drawing, and I was entering those contests between the schools, between the region in the city, and I was getting some attention on that.
What would you draw?
I was drawing like cartoon characters. I was drawing plants. I was drawing cities and trees, and tanks was one of them.
Tanks.
Because Ahvaz, you could see the tanks, like half burned out tanks left over from the war. Little by little they take them out of the city and the city urban area, but I was drawing those too.
Tell me about this. Intersects your drawing, your facility for drawing, your capability and talent intersects with your interests in movies as a kid, and tell me about your uncle who would bring you these movies to watch from America.
Yeah, that was one of the best times of my life. So the environment was pretty hostile, but when you're in it, when I was in it, I wouldn't understand it. Probably most of it because my age. So the hassle and difficulties probably was on my parents at that times.
You mean hostile because of the economic situation or the war, or what do you mean hostile?
Yeah, economic situation, the war, and they lost the house, or they lost the I don't know, the job, or it doesn't pay well, or the electricity is not always going,
right.
And in Ahvaz it gets so hot sometimes, and if you don't have the AC running, it's difficult time, and
right.
with like kids, it's even more difficult. And for example, we couldn't buy chickens as regular, so we have to buy live chicken, bring it to the house, kill it, and eat it.
Right.
I had a pet rooster that when I was coming back from like a kindergarten, they kind of sacrificed
it. Oh no,
your pet on me, and we eat him.
Right. Right. These are the fringe issues that come with not having electricity. I haven't thought about this. So, did you have a name for the pet rooster?
I don't.
You don't remember?
He was the color was black and white.
And you got home, and little Ahmad the rooster was on the table on a plate.
Yeah. But the food was so delicious, but I was crying.
So, in the midst of all this, your uncle is bringing VHS tapes, and you're watching Hollywood movies or animated movies, or what are you looking at?
Yeah, mostly like Hollywood movies, like Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, and sometimes like Lion King, and some animated movies as well. But that was pretty cool because I was, and if it's like war movies or something, I was understanding that, these situations are pretty hostile that is this character in. And my situation is pretty hostile too. The environment, this is crazy. And the area that I see around myself, maybe someday I can draw those and work on a movie.
I want you to make a film at some point about the little rooster, your companion as a kid who, I mean, he deserves some respect, maybe on film at some point in your life. You grew up in a family of engineers, as I understand it. Were your parents, I mean, even if they're noticing that your energy and your excitement and your talents when it comes to drawing, were your parents okay with you wanting to go into a creative field?
Yeah, I was so lucky on that, and my parents were always super supportive, and they were understanding art and media, and how important that is to have the imagination get going. They still like me to be like an engineer or something, probably. But when I decided
now,
until like a couple of years ago, that I was
right.
It depends on how much money I make. So we have Dabiristan and Honaristan. Then they have to take a major, like it's mathematics or physics or like science, something like that, and art. So, and every Iranian family, they just don't let the kid to pursue art or crafts in the Honaristan because it's kind of bad because lazy students go to that.
Well, it's partly because it doesn't translate into well-paid jobs in Iran too often, and so we'll get to that. But there's something I wanted to just meditate on, which was the fact that I think you told me at some point that because you grew up in a family of engineers, you understand engineering, and that you've used some of your engineering knowledge in your animation work, like say with the film Ralph Breaks the Internet. How does engineering come in handy for an animator?
Yeah, so my uncle who was bringing the movies was he was also an electronic engineer, and he was when he was fixing the radio, the TVs, and all this stuff that he was doing back then, and I was always next to him and watching him do the job at all the electronics part attaching to each other or something mechanical attaching to them. So I was always seeing that. I knew what is that part, what is that, and how they work. And in the Ralph Breaks the Internet, there was this part that we have to show inside of a computer, like how it's working, how this electronic stuff attaching to each other, or how they are working. And I was remembering all of that and what they call this part and how it's attached. So I basically drawing from my imagination when I was a kid.
Oh, that's amazing for the world to see. I love that. And then when you're 14, your dad sends an oil painting you've done to America to enter some sort of contest, which you win. What is that story?
Yeah, I think it was like he was hearing this contest for art in like VOA and in the radio, and there was a person was doing like Beauties of Iran's book, and she was always putting a show in the museum in San Francisco for that. And my father sent the oil painting to the US by mail, and then at some point they send us like a letter that you have been rewarded with this. I think it was like $20 as well, and like medallion, like and a couple of other gifts. And that was kind of an inspiration and a moment that, yeah, I can do it in San Francisco. Right. I can do the job over there too.
As the story goes, despite doing a graphics degree in Tehran, by your early 20s, you want to be an animator, and you are realizing that it's really hard to make a living in Iran as an animator. And you've said it just wasn't going to work because in animation studios in Iran, the attitude was, I'm paraphrasing you, that artists pretty much don't need to get paid. Can you talk about this challenge in Iran?
Basically, the respect for the art is not there. It's not in the real place. And most of the time, the money comes from the government, and they don't pay sometimes for like 6 months. You don't know where is if even the money is coming, if it's not coming, and like or 3 months is late or something like that. And when I was talking about that, like, okay, where am I getting paid? And there is always this defense line that if somebody is asking for money, and he's like, oh, why are you asking? You're an artist. You do it because you love it. So right. No, we have a life too. We have to get paid too.
Right. Do you think that's still the case in Iran? I mean, do you hear from animators who are trying to work in Iran? Is that still the case?
Yeah, it's still the case, and many of my friends have difficulties to have a life, like normal life going. The good thing about the culture is all the families, whoever have a family around them, kind of support them with the housing, with everything. But it's very, very difficult to be artist and make a life.
Is this why you wanted to leave Iran so badly? I mean, if I have this story correct, you were so interested in leaving Iran that you actually learned French in the hopes that you would be able to relocate to France. And when that didn't work out, you learned Italian in the hopes of moving to Italy. I mean, you really wanted to make this work and to pursue your passion. Did it ever cross your mind that you might end up just staying in Iran and changing your profession?
And no, I was always wanted to go out, and I was thinking that, and I was hearing and researching about that, how they are treating artists in Italy or France or in America or Canada or Australia. So I knew there is a better life out there for artists and for creatives. So I wanted to join them. I was thinking that this city is kind of small for me. I have to go in a bigger place because of all the difficulties that they make for the artists. So I was going, like, I went to like 16 or 18 embassy back in Tehran. That every time I was going through them, filling the application, waiting in the lines, and yeah, I learned French for 2 years. And I learned Italian for 1 year in Italian embassy north of Tehran. That didn't work out too. And every time there was something political would happen, that they closing another embassy, or there's some people going up from the this embassy or that embassy wall, or
right.
So it didn't work out. But at some point, my older brother, won the Green Card lottery in the U.S. and he moved to U.S. So, and that time U.S. become an option.
And Mehrdad, how did it feel when you finally moved to the United States? Was it everything you had hoped it to be?
I would be honest, it was a little bit less than that. I was hoping, because my vision was coming from these TV shows and movies, and this is awesome. This is going amazing. And when they cast these actors, they're all well-known, rich, beautiful, amazing people, and everything is going well. But when I came to US, no, you have to work so hard. You have to manage your life, and the culture shock is huge, because we have like a family culture in Iran. When you talk about family, it's your mom, it's your dad, it's your uncles, everyone, and they all help each other to like lift up a life. But here I was alone, so you have to make a life from being less than a zero, because zero is a person that at least can speak English as well as them.
Right.
So
wait a minute. All that time you were learning French and Italian, you didn't learn English before you came to...
I was learning English in the last year that I was coming here.
Your English is very good, by the way. So, I mean, as you sit on top of the mountain at Disney, still in your mid-30s, what advice would you give to young creatives or animators even in Iran about what you learned on this journey?
The main one would be kind of cliche that I tell everyone: as much as your art is important, knowing English and international language is important, because you have to communicate. There was lots of time that I was trying to say something that, like, I think the story problem is this and that, but somebody in the meeting a day after would say exactly the same what I was trying to say yesterday. But I understand, if my English was as good as him, I could have a higher position or something like that, or I could communicate more. So that is so important. And the other thing I think is, don't lose their hope, because in the countries like, maybe I would say like third world countries, the main thing that you lose is the hope that you can actually change something and change your life. They all have the pen and paper, then they can start their journey, but they don't have a hope. And if they don't have a supportive family, it would be so devastating for them, for the art and knowledge that they have.
You know, given that Hollywood films and stories are finally, you might say, becoming more diverse, is there some advantage at all to being an animator or an art director or even a production designer of Middle Eastern background now?
I think... I don't know.
No.
It's an interesting question.
There's still no advantage.
Yeah. I think if they have enough knowledge and enough experience, yes, they will be seen. But it wouldn't be much favoritism that they would be favored over someone else. But if they're equal, maybe... That's a good time. That's a good time to
see. I would think that. I would hope that a company like Disney, even the animation studio, or even the bigger company, would value the perspective that you can bring. I mean, that's in an increasingly globalized world, you're an extremely valuable resource in terms of the perspective and the vision you can bring. That's Eastern or different, and yet at the same time, I'm thinking as an animator, I'm guessing. I think about animated films, and a lot of it is references, and a lot of them are pop culture references. And so you need to be able to reference Western pop culture references from the 80s or something that you may not know about, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a difficult part, because, for example, I was drawing the character when I was back in university in San Francisco, and everybody was saying it looked like Loki. But I knew what is Loki, being like Loki in a job, like being like not visible. But I didn't know the Loki is a character in Marvel Universe. Right, but everybody else knew that. like, how can I know that? I don't know all these characters. Now I know many of them, but where there is a reference to like 80s TV show or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's so difficult to keep up. It's like for us, like somebody's talking about Rostam and Sohrab, and everybody knows, but
right.
a foreigner would never know what's that feeling.
Right. What is the project you've been most excited about so far that you've worked out at Disney?
I think it would be the last one, Raya and the Last Dragon.
Ah.
Yeah.
And why is that?
It shows like a different culture in it's inspired by Southeast Asia, that how these cultures and the societies can come together and work and make a better place and better life for themselves. And it's kind of the same in all over the world. And there was this quote from, I don't remember who said that, but the politician bring us the borders, but there is no border. I was listening to Firuz Naderi, he's NASA.
Yes.
He was saying that when you go up in the space and look at the Earth, there is no border, and there everybody is the same. It's
Yes.
Earth and us up in the space, and that was so amazing. And I think this then recent movies are going to that direction. There is no difference between people. It's just,
Yeah, I was thinking about that in preparation for this. I was thinking about how it's such a beautiful thing what you can do, because animation really can be universal. You know, it doesn't. I mean, I guess you could make white people stories or something even in animation, but you can make it really universal, especially when it comes to animals or characters that are outer worldly characters. It really is accessible to kids everywhere, people everywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's all when we talk about live action and animation, when we talk about like, yeah, I work with this director and that director, and most of the feedback I get like, this is amazing, this is awesome. But when you talk about animation, like I work on one, and the voice would get high pitched. Oh, that's so cool! It's like it's for the kid. But the impact for the kid would be far more higher than for adults, because the adults, their life are already shaped. They have a job, they have the life going. But the kid, you need him to have like different vast imagination. So when you make animation and you can make it positive feeling for that kid and tell him you can be who you want to be, far from what's your skin, what's your color of the eye or whatever. When he believes that, you give a more impactful message. So I love it about animation.
It's really nice talking to you, my friend. I've enjoyed this, and I'm proud of all that you've accomplished so far. I can't wait to see what else you're gonna do. Before I let you go, there was when we were having a conversation before this interview, I had said, tell me what your dream is, because you've already ascended so high in sort of the animation world with Disney and DreamWorks, and I was expecting you to respond with some big gig at Disney that you would want to do, or some film or something. And you told me your dream is to build some kind of school or academy for aspiring designers and animators from the Middle East. Where would you locate such a school?
I was dreaming of making a university in the somewhere in Middle East. So the artist and the talented student can join and learn, because the first thing gonna vanish from hostile society is the art. They don't understand them. They don't care about the artist, especially the student when they are young. So I don't know, somewhere in Dubai or Turkey or somewhere in Middle East that has a little bit better economy and attached to the world, and have these kids and give these kids grant and a little bit of lift so they can come to the university and learn what they love to learn. I think that would save the society. That artistic ideas would save the society more than war and all these stuff that's going on in the world. Especially
you can do that, I think.
Yeah, hopefully, I'm hopeful.
it's a pleasure. I thank you, and I hope we can catch up more in the future. And we're looking forward to whatever the secret film is that you can't talk about for 2022. But I'm sure we'll spot it when we see the next big animation film out of Disney, and we'll know that our main man has been behind it. Thanks for this, brother.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye.
It's been a pleasure. Bye.
Mehrdad Isvandi, an Iranian-American illustrator, art director, and production designer who works at Walt Disney Animation Studios in California. We reached Mehrdad in Los Angeles today. Microphone's back on for Groovy Shia, Captain Reza, and the fabulous Kian. Well, what a sweet guy. Yeah, I couldn't like a person more. He's lovely. Yeah. I really appreciated that story.
Yeah, I love him. And actually, while you were interviewing him, I looked for the Persian term for dyslexia.
Dyslexia,
yeah. It's khanesh parishi.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's very beautiful. خانش پریشی is a very poetic
word.
خانش پریشی.
Yeah, like تو خط شعر من خانش پریشی. It's very beautiful.
That he found his outlet through drawing, I think is a beautiful story, and good for him the way he's rocking it. Captain Reza, you're a man in film. Yeah. How did you feel about Mr. Isvandi?
Hopeful and great that there is hope, that where there is a will, there is a way, even if you're from a land far, far away. Truly, from Ahvaz to Disney. Like, it's just so inspiring. I love the guy. I'm so inspired.
Nice. Yeah. And Kian?
Not bad for a kid from Ahvaz. My God, I'm just imagining there's probably a kid somewhere out there.
Not bad for a kid from anywhere. Let's be clear that we're not just picking on Ahvaz.
But still, like, I'm imagining there's, say, a little kid in Ahvaz right now listening to this interview thinking, wow, there's also a chance for me to reach Disney and big companies like that. And it's really
There's probably
inspiring.
no kids in Ahvaz listening to this right now. But
there will be.
It's true.
His cousin or something.
No, actually, it's actually very likely, that there are people listening, and I appreciate what you're saying. All right, it is Thursday. I don't want to waste any more time because we got to get to the important stuff here. It's Thursday. You know what this means. She's a dear friend, a diaspora blend, a gym workout cat, and a bicultural brat. But lovable, smart, and funny, and on a journey to discover what we actually discovered. Here we go, Bachaha. It's all Persian to us with Kian Nademi. Well, if you could recover from what you just heard Reza doing. What do you have for us this week, Kian?
All right. So Persia was once known as the center of the world, and quite literally it is sort of located at the center of the world. And being the vast empire as it once was, a lot of ideas and inventions came out of this. We know this already.
Yes.
But in some cases, ideas even passed through it. One of these inventions is the world's most popular board game, as I mentioned, chess.
Not a board game, but yeah.
Well, it is a board game, actually.
Yeah.
So the earliest predecessor of chess first originated in India around the 6th century AD. It was a 4-player war game known as Chaturanga. When this game later arrived in Persia, it eventually turned into a 2-player game of Shatranj, or chess as we know it today. So according to the Shahnameh, the Book of Kings, the story goes that in order to avoid paying tribute to the Sasanian king Khosrow I, the Raja, or king of India, sent his emissary to Persia to deliver a board game as a riddle and a challenge to the Persian king, along with a letter that read, "O great king, fetch your wise men and let them solve the mysteries of this game. If they succeed, my master, the king of Hind, will pay tribute as an overlord. But if they fail, It will be proof that the Persians are of lower intellect, and we shall demand tribute from Persia. Wow. So a day passed by until King Khosrow's clever Grand Vizier, Bozorgmehr, successfully solved the riddle and figured out how to play the game. And in response, interesting enough, the wise vizier created a game of his own called backgammon and sent it to the Indian court with the very same message.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
In the end, the Indian king couldn't solve the riddle and was forced to pay tribute. So that's how the story goes. And
So wait, you backgammon is we keep that for another episode.
well, we'll keep that for another episode. But yeah, that's basically how the story goes. That he's like in response, he sent another
great.
game of his own.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So this vizier Bozorgmehr also famously published the Matikane Shatrang, or the Book of Chess. And so this book became the manuscript of the game, which helped spread it throughout Persian courts. So this is how it became an official part of the Persian education in nobility as a test of intellect and strategy. And that's essentially how it helped spread throughout Persia. So in fact, the oldest chess pieces were found in Persian lands, now modern-day Uzbekistan, which date back to 760 AD. So Persians developed the rules further and established today's chess, or shatrang, which translates to 4 divisions of military, one being infantry, cavalry, elephantry. Yes, Persians used elephants in war, pretty badass, I know, and chariotry. So this later evolved into the modern pawn, knight, bishop, and rook. And interestingly enough, rook, not to be confused with rook, our show, comes from the Persian word for ruh, meaning chariot. And so beyond that, too, the Persians also added the saying...
It's rook.
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 You're talking about
English.
the show or the...
No,
yes.
in English, we're rook. It's
Right.
rook.
Yes, rook. That's what I said.
Well, it's different.
Is that not what I said?
No, you said rook. It's
Rook.
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 Yeah.
Rook.
Like put. Rook.
Okay, well, anyway, it came from the Persian word for rook.
Did you say shatrang?
Shatrang. Wait, I'll get
Is
to
it
that.
not shatrang?
I'll get to
Oh,
that. Yeah.
okay.
So the Persians also added the saying of shah, or check, when the king is vulnerable, and shah mat, meaning the king is helpless, or checkmate. And also, interestingly enough, the opposing black and white chess pieces are said to be of Zoroastrian symbolism for light against darkness, or good against evil.
This sounds pretty legit. Like
It
was
is pretty
really
legit.
invented by
I'm
them.
telling you, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as history would have it, the Arabs, of course, conquered Persia in 633 AD. They adopted most of the Persian inventions, one of which was shatrang. And due to the lack of ch and ng sounds in Arabic, this evolved to shatranj. Yes, that's how it evolved. And with the
I
spread-
only call it shatrang.
That's right.
That's what I call it. I don't know what these newcomers who say shatrang.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, and with the spread of Islam, as we know, into Spain, shatranj also spread throughout Europe, and eventually the world came to know it as chess.
Wow.
Well, for better or for worse, Persia was once the center of cultural exchange. It was, after all, once a vast empire sitting between the East and the West. And it's from this very center where the game of chess was shared with the world. And so, in the end, it's all Persian to us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, here's something I don't understand, because I'm a chess player. I love chess. And I played it since I was a young boy. Well, since I was a kid, for sure. And I regularly enjoy losing to my iPad on chess. But so being a chess fan, I was kind of aware of, it was sort of a bigger deal when I was a kid and into the 80s and 90s, that the great chess players in the world, Garry Kasparov, these people whose names we all knew. I don't remember there, maybe it's just me, but I don't remember there being Iranians amongst
There's a
those.
few, actually.
The
There's
icons of
The
chess?
icons are all Russian. Or
Yeah, they're
No,
Russians
there was
and
one.
American.
There was one. I forget his name. He was in the movie In Search of Bobby Fischer. They
Yes.
referenced his name. I can't remember. But there's also a 17-year-old kid who
Well, there's
is
the
who's
kid
a world
now. There's a kid now. Yeah. But I'm just thinking about at the height of the where were the Iranians?
I
been
don't
on
know.
this? I mean, I'm sure I'm wrong. I mean, I'm
I
sure there's
guess
people that you should write in.
They were
Folks,
more
tell me
focused
who
on.
they are.
They were
but-
more focused on backgammon, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Winning at Tahte. Well, that's a good one. What are you doing, Shai? Are you looking it up?
I'm looking for the Ustad Shatranj. Ehsan Qayum Maqami.
No, he was in the movie Bobby Fischer. If you look up forget his
Searching
name.
for Bobby Fischer.
In
is what
Search
it
of Bobby Fischer,
sorry.
in the I think it's the second scene where there's a guy playing chess in the park in New York, and then they referenced his name, like, so and so, Master so and so. Anyway.
Okay, I will find it and let you know.
All right. Thank you, Shai.
I mean, I can
On that note, we'll end the show.
Well,
But you know what? Actually, let's leave it to the audience.
Sure.
You guys let us know if you think that. I mean, if there's some great the story of chess. I mean, this is one that we do know is. Although I knew about the Indian, the complication there. Is it Indian or is it Iranian?
Yeah.
But it to spawn from Persia, we know that. And folks who know more about that, let us know. If you know about some chess icons who are Iranian, let us know about that. And if you know about the kid, or if you know, I think we tried to get him on the show, but we couldn't find him.
Ali
or
Reza
something.
Firuzja, that's the kid.
Yeah. We got to find a way to get him on the show because there's a young girl too, an Iranian.
Right.
Dorsa.
Yeah.
I know the name. It was Grandmaster Shirazi. It was Kamran Shirazi. He was once a chess master.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Now that we know his name.
It was going to bother me.
Thank you, Kianjun. Good job. Thank you, Captain Reza. Thank you, Groovy Shaya. This is full time for Roqe for today. If you want to let us know about your thoughts on Mehrdad Isvandi, on chess, on anything else to do with our show, post on any of our platforms or email us at info@roqemedia.com. info@roqemedia.com. And of course, visit our website, roqemedia.com, to become a patron. We invite you to subscribe on any of our platforms as well. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together each week. Producer Susan, Ponce the artist, Tafel Nagin, the fabulous Kian, Savi Roham, Ahoy Mehrdad, Master Muhammad, Captain Reza, and Groovy Shaya. Thank you to all of you out there supporting us. Find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. Mizun Bashir.